Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. A very good afternoon to you. I'm Robert McNeely as we are joined by our dear friend Michael Kunzler right off the top of the show. Good afternoon, Michael. I'm reading all about this RFK Jr. peptide talk and a change in FDA policy. Is this something that All Family Pharmacy is happy to see?
Yeah, we're excited for it. The last administration really put restrictions on compounding peptides. That's why a lot of them were removed from the market. Again, that created the black market, which is now where people go online and they're purchasing peptides from, who knows where. Who knows what's in it. They're fed these C of A's that can be fake. They can be falsified. So it's something that the administration should put at the front lines for the pharmacies like us, All Family Pharmacy and others out there who can compound these medications in a safe and effective manner. And we do it under certain regulations, as we do with all of our medications. We purchase them from U.S. wholesalers who only work with FDA-registered facilities. So that way we can manage everything and make sure that it's safe and effective what we're putting out on the market.
And what are some of the more exciting ones that are being put out there? Because the more I read in these medical journals to the studies happening, even with ivermectin when it comes to cancer research, these off-label generics really making a difference in everyday lives of Americans.
Yeah, I mean, ivermectin has just been at the forefront now for us for 6 years. It's continuously getting better for us. More people are taking it now. They're doing parasite cleanse. They're really taking care of themselves. I mean, that's the MAHA movement that we're proud to be a part of. And then when it comes to the peptide game, the GLPs are pretty much at the top of the list, but that is controlled by Big Pharma. Most of the ones that are natural occurring peptides, that's like BPC 157 and TB 500, GHKCU is now hitting the market like crazy because of the benefits with healing, with skin, hair, nails, straight collagen production in the body. And so at the forefront, BPC is probably the #1 peptide out there, especially for its healing properties, just bringing down inflammation in the area and bringing new blood to the area. When you bring new blood to an area that's injured, it just brings all types of nutrients and oxygen that allows the body to heal faster. And the crazy thing is a couple of these peptides are banned in the World Doping Agency. That's the Olympics. They don't want athletes using them, and they don't want them to use them because they know they work. And so they don't want a competitive edge, in which we understand, but there should be humans like us and Americans that should have access to them.
Yes, and that right to try most favored nation status that the administration has fought for. But what's so great about allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and what you're doing, Michael, you're allowing people to have that market access and to choose for themselves the generic off labels. And can you walk us through what takes place with your company? Because it might be a surprise to our viewers, but if you don't have insurance, there's no red tape and no bureaucracy. You could still reach out to your team and a medical doctor on the other end to get these life-saving medications.
Yeah, so on the forefront, we have our physicians. They're licensed in just about every state. The pharmacy, I believe, is licensed in about 44, 45 states. So we can provide service in just about anywhere in the United States, but a couple of the states. Now, we do also have pharmacists on staff. We have anywhere between 2 and 4 at all times. Those pharmacists are there to assist patients, to make sure the orders are correct, to make sure that there's no allergies within a patient's profile that could hurt them, to make sure the medication they're taking doesn't contradict any medication they're currently on. And so, coming to us at All Family Pharmacy, we're e-commerce based, so it's basically online, but we're also retail. We're brick and mortar here in Boca Raton, Florida. You can always come pop in and say hi, have a conversation with our staff, but we try to make the ordering process simple and easy, right? Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the United States and now one of the biggest in the world because they made ordering simple and easy. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to stay within compliance of state and federal laws, but at the same time, we're trying to make it simple and easy for people to come to our pharmacy, to place an order, and to get medication that they can use to help themselves as long as a doctor prescribes it.
Well, that's fantastic. And you have 300 plus options. And right now running a great deal, RSBN 30% off everything site-wide. And This is still a time of year where some of us are experiencing spring down in the southeast, but my goodness, Washington, D.C. and the federal city got very cold overnight, so still probably a good idea to get that Tamiflu, including nasal sprays that you have available.
Yeah, so the winters obviously still strikes in March in certain parts of the states. So those that are still battling the cold and the flu, we're always going to have those medications. Flu is not very popular in this time of the year or coming into the summer, but you never know. Right. And we're not just known for flu meds. We're also known for sinus infection, allergies. We have any type of medication, whether you want to go on a trip and you want something for motion sickness because you're going skiing up in the mountains, or you want a nausea patch because you're going on a cruise with your family for spring break, leaving out of Cape Canaveral. So, we provide all different types of medication for different needs. If you want to stock up on your blood pressure, your thyroid, your cholesterol meds, we can provide that service so you never have to step foot inside of a Walgreens again or a CVS, where there are tons of people who are getting vaccinated. They're getting cold, strep, flu tests. And then the service they provide. I was on the phone with the patient the other day, and he wanted to use our services with Medicare Part B. It's a low-income service. But I said, I apologize, we don't take insurance. It's just one of our regulations here because the insurance is a problem in the United States. But he was frustrated with how bad Walgreens. He said, I step into Walgreens, I'm there for 45 minutes to an hour minimum. Nobody wants to help me. I'm just a number in line. And he says, I'm sick of it. And so people like that have been coming to All Family Pharmacy, and they've just been able to purchase medication at a very cheap price. It's $25, $30 for a 90-day supply of certain blood pressure and cholesterol and thyroid medications. You could even buy up to a 6 months, I think even a 9-month supply. So you never even have to think about it. It's a peace of mind at home.
Yes, being prepared. You can also take these medications on the road with you. And your process is rather simple because the U.S. licensed doctor on the other end reviews the order, gets that pharmaceutical note procured, and sends that order right back to you just in the matter of a couple of days.
Yeah, we've designed a pretty unique system. Everything is one exact flow. So when you come to us and you speak with the doctor, you consult with the physician, you fill out the medical forms, all of that flows directly into our pharmacy. So we have access to the current medications you're on, current allergies. Our pharmacists can swiftly review the charts to make sure that what was prescribed is not going to hurt you, because the doctors can make mistakes. I'm not saying our doctors make mistakes, but they're human. They can make mistakes. So we have pharmacists constantly reviewing profiles to make sure that what's prescribed is appropriate and not going to hurt the patient. It's only going to help them. And we do all that behind closed doors. It happens very quickly, and we make sure that every order that goes out is a good order. It's an order that's going to help somebody throughout the United States.
Well, that's fantastic. And all 50 states can be part of the services here at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Michael Kunzler, the co-owner of this great All Family Pharmacy, now RSBN 30. How long is that 30% off running?
30% off. I believe we left for 48 hours, 72 hours. I think they have till tomorrow night, if I'm not mistaken. Tomorrow, Friday at midnight, it'll be live and available. And hey, listen, maybe we do a couple more of these interviews and I just start throwing some random coupons out for 72 hours. We got great feedback from your audience. People love it. We'll keep switching it up. It's going to encourage people to come try our services when we do these discounts. I think one of the things I did today is I lowered the price of methylene blue capsules. I dropped it by 22% on the website. You don't even need a coupon. We just did it on the website. I got a cheaper price from our manufacturer, and so I dropped the prices, making it cheaper and more affordable for those who want to try methylene blue or for those who are currently on methylene blue.
Perfect. Well, go visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN during the broadcast or right afterwards. And as we see the President and First Lady today, Michael Kunzler, thank you so much, coming to us from the free Sunshine State of Florida. We'll talk to you again very soon.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
As we covered the latest from the Trump White House inside and outside of the Beltway, we had a slew of excitement yesterday in Hebron, Kentucky, where the president was in the 4th Congressional District of the Commonwealth. And we know what's happening there. It's Captain Ed Galrine, who is endorsed by President Trump, a former Navy SEAL, against Congressman Thomas Massie, someone who's against the Save America Act. We're also watching some breaking news up in the Wolverine State in West Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, just northwest of Detroit, where an alleged shooting underway, taking place, a very large police response, which might be another hate crime, very sadly, against the Jewish temple, the synagogue up there, which is the largest Reform synagogue in all of the nation. So if we get any more information on that, we'll be sure to bring it to you across the channels here. But we're thrilled to have you this afternoon at the #1 source for political events in all of America. That's Right Side Broadcasting Network. And what we do here as a live desk and a rally network is, of course, to bring you the direct information, unedited, the press conferences, the speeches, everything of the president, the vice president, the 119th Congress, so you know exactly what's going on inside and outside of the Beltway. We can run through as well some of what's happening all over Truth Social and what President Trump, the White House, putting out today in regards to the Save America Act, but also the situation in Iran. And if we could play cut #1, Mr. Producer, this president, this administration, this military, truly undefeated. And with that as well, the president has invited the Iranian soccer team to the FIFA World Cup right here at home. We'll see if that happens. But with cut #2, President Trump making that formal invite and stating that it may not be the smartest thing in the world, but that the Iranian national soccer team is welcome to the World Cup. But I really don't believe it is appropriate that they be there for their own life and safety. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And what's also in focus with everything happening abroad, we've seen some spike in the oil and gas prices. The president releasing those oil reserves, roughly 170 million barrels of oil in the interim, as the Strait of Hormuz responsible for 1/5 of the oil that is traded throughout the entire world. But America is by far #1 in all oil and natural gas, especially with an administration that's willing to dig and research for that. So what does that mean altogether for the domestic policy that's being changed in real time? Well, cut #3, President Trump speaking to this yesterday: no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, delivering one of the largest tax refunds this year. And we can highlight that and showcase that with some of his comments yesterday.
One of the greatest victories we have achieved for hardworking Americans with the help of our great Republican majorities in Congress is no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and as I told you before, no tax on overtime, which affects you. 800,000 Kentucky seniors. And every Democrat voted against it. So remember, and they'll terminate it. If they take power, they'll terminate it. 800,000 Kentucky. So you have, think of that, you have no tax on Social Security, 800,000 seniors, and they will end it.
We are very grateful for our sponsors here on the right side of history as we await the President and First Lady for an event later this afternoon. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network by visiting mypillow.com/RSBN. There you will find not only 2,000 plus products that make your night a little bit more restful and your mornings even better, but a mattress and topper sale unlike any other, as low as $99.99 plus free shipping on your entire order. Call today and do not delay. It's 800-836-7566 with promo code RSBN. Easy to remember. mypillow.com/RSBN. Did you hear the news that Mike Lindell running for governor of Minnesota? He also makes all of those fine products right here in America in that great state. So we look forward to following not only that campaign, but the partnership we have with a great American-made company that truly puts you first. The mattress and topper sale now as low as $99.99 once again. Free shipping by calling 800-836-7566. Call today. Do not delay. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting at mypillow.com/RSBN. And as we look at the mission updates in Iran by the numbers and cut number 4, we see great success in 2 weeks. Iranian ballistic missile attacks down 90%, 5,500 targets eliminated, air superiority secured, 60-plus Iranian vessels sunk and destroyed, and all 4 Soleimani-class warships taken out. When America acts, the world gets safer. And for those who have had this procurement and this statement about that for some reason this is only in Israel's interests, or this is outside of American interests, or that this was a chosen war, to quote some of the Democrats on Capitol Hill by President Trump. He's simply addressing the Americans who were attacked over the course of 47 years. Dating back to October 7th of 2023. Yes, Americans were murdered in that disgusting attack by Hamas on Israeli soil. You go back to Beirut, Lebanon, 1983, 200 plus Marines murdered by Iranian counter-military officials, 12 different proxy groups, a dozen approximately, who have been wreaking terrorist havoc in the region and abroad for 47 plus years. This is simply an ending to that finally, as the United States is the largest oil producer, and cut number 5. As the president stating, by far we are in the world, so when oil prices go up, we make a lot of money. But of far greater interest and importance to me as president is stopping an evil empire, Iran, from having nuclear weapons and destroying the Middle East and indeed the world. I won't ever let that happen. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald John Trump. And with that, you have a Democrat Party that continues to scoff and make up fake news stories. Perhaps my favorite over the 24/7 news cycle in the last day, they're all upset that Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, a Bronze Star recipient, someone who had boots on the ground, who understands the war fighter, has purchased steak and lobster for our troops and somehow tried to tie that into homeless people not being fed in America. This has been a standing tradition of the United States military to have nicer meals outside of the MREs, specifically on Friday and Saturday. So give a little taste of home with our warriors that are out there in distant battlefields and throughout the world for months on end, years on end, with multiple deployments on end, even dating back to George W. Bush, Barack Hussein Obama, and the Autopen having steak and lobster ready during the Gates tenure as Secretary of Defense, and also Lloyd Austin. So another nothing burger, another batch of spaghetti thrown at the wall for these Democrats in Washington, D.C., as they are refusing currently to fund DHS and prioritize paychecks to our hardworking TSA officials and those in the government who will continue to go out or go without a paycheck week by week or by every 2 weeks because of their inaction in Washington, D.C. So shame on Washington Democrats, especially one that wants to be president out there in California, Gavin Newsom. His interview weeks ago was perhaps the most self-destructive interview I've ever seen, according to the president. In one fell swoop, he took himself out of even being considered as the presidential nominee of the crazy, as proven at the State of the Union address, Democrats. He said in a speech he was dumb, had low boards, can't read, has dyslexia, and has a mental disorder, a cognitive mess. On top of that, black people are angry because he is obviously a racist. While we all want to be politically correct, having a mental disorder is not a positive campaign event. Also, this was a politically suicidal act. The only thing that he didn't say is that he is losing his look, but nobody wants to say that about oneself. He is no longer a viable presidential candidate, signed there by 45-47 himself. And I would have to agree with the president that Gavin Newsom and Jelly Belly Pritzker and Kathy Hochul in New York, three of the worst as people continue to leave all three of those once extraordinary hubs of technological advances in America, Hollywood to the Empire State and the industry built throughout the Great Lakes. People are tired of blue state policies and blue state governors that have led to places like the Prairie State of Illinois going from a $38 billion deficit now over $240 billion in deficit solely under this last governor over the last 6 years. But he wants, of course, to be president as well. So we'll watch what happens in 2028. And right now you can make those bets over at Kalshi.com. But President Trump throwing out his support there, not only yesterday in Kentucky for the May 19th primary forthcoming, but a slew of different endorsements on Truth Social, with Marty Jackley in cut number 7 being a tremendous Attorney General of South Dakota, a place I love, and won big 6 times, including primaries in 2016, 2020, and 2024, an America First patriot and true friend of MAGA. Marty is now running for Congress, where I know he will continue to do a fantastic job. As your next congressman, Marty will work tirelessly to grow the economy, cut taxes and regulations, support our amazing farmers and ranchers, promote Made in the USA, champion American energy dominance, keep our border secure, stop migrant crime, strengthen our military and veterans, advance election integrity, protect our always under siege Second Amendment. Marty Jackley has my complete and total endorsement to be the next U.S. representative from the great state of South Dakota. He will never let you down. We're grateful for our sponsors here on the right side of history, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. If you did not catch our exclusive interview with the co-owner Michael Kunzler at the top of the show, scrub back for that, because right now 30% off of your essential medications, which will last to tomorrow. So be sure to take advantage of this great deal. Code RSBN30, 30% off site-wide. Order essential medications at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, because we're far beyond the new year, new you look. It's now really focused on, do you have the essentials? Are you stocked up to protect yourself? And having that medicine cabinet full, being able to take these life-saving medications on the road with you as well, very smart to do. Antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, antivirals, and much, much, much more. In fact, Michael mentioned that methylene blue, there's a special deal on the site if you visit as well. He got that for a bit less from the manufacturer. So you have that right to try. You have most favored nation status. And walking you through this process, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, able to give you no red tape, no bureaucracy. If you have no insurance, there's no issues. They just need a pharmaceutical note, an order reviewed by a U.S. licensed doctor, sent right back to your door. So it's good for those who like convenience and good for those who want to stock up that medicine cabinet, including Tamiflu. Still this time of year, as the temperatures fluctuate back and forth, good to have to fight off cold and flu. So again, 30% off right now. RSBN30, 30% off site-wide. Order all those essential medications for you and yours and protect your household as we go into warmer temperatures, God willing, but it does fluctuate this time of year at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. We are grateful for their support here on the right side of history. And we would also like to thank Birch Gold, the Birch Gold Group. You text Trump to 989898 to diversify your IRA or 401ks with tangible metals like gold and silver. They're the best in the business. The dollar continuing to go down and $39 trillion in debt. And with some uncertainty around the world, we have to figure out what to do with those diversifications of our hard-earned savings, what we've worked hard to have in our households. Gold going up 700% over the course of the last 2 decades. So this time-honored commodity continues to do extraordinarily well, especially when the dollar is uncertain. And with so many different things happening in the new AI economy, from crypto to good old properties and even being able to purchase a property, that's a big topic in America right now, as the first-time homeowners getting older and older and older into the late 30s, early 40s. Smart to think about diversifying your 401k and IRA in precious metals and tangible gold and silver. Text Trump to 989898. We were joined by Philip Patrick of the Birch Gold Group earlier, and we'll run that interview this hour as we prepare to see President Trump and the First Lady roughly 1 hour from now at an event later on this afternoon. And the president really having a busy time, as always, conducting this operation in Iran with our partners in Israel and related allies in the Mediterranean Sea, throughout the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea, an armada that remains in full effect, and some uncertainty about who is at the top of power there with the new supreme leader, and if injuries were sustained in that initial attack. 2, if it's the Iranian Republican Guard who's really calling the shots at this point, as we are hearing from inside of the nation of Iran itself. The people are encouraging more Western and American bombings and Israeli airstrikes. So we'll watch this very closely. In the meantime, if you live in that region, be very, very careful. Be sure to contact the State Department if you can and get out, as they've reported that nearly hundreds of thousands of Americans could still be in and around Arab nations and throughout the Middle East. So be very careful over there, as we've seen some collateral damage, sadly, in what Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has called absolute hell. That's what war is. But this might be the end, ideally, of an Iranian regime that has butchered and tortured thousands of its people, that has been causing terrorist proxies to continue operations over the course of the last 47 years in the region. And this is the peace through strength and the America First foreign policy that President Trump has been pushing for and fighting for ever since he came down from the golden escalator. But he needs people in Congress to assist him in these midterms. And with cut number 8, he has endorsed the great Colonel Lori Buckhout from North Carolina's 1st Congressional District. Lori is running against a radical left Democrat named Don Davis, who tried to raise taxes by over $4 trillion and voted against all of our tax cuts, including no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime. Don Davis wants to abolish our borders, stop deporting criminal illegal aliens, and supports dangerous, soft on crime policies like cashless bail, and let that repeat violent criminals roam free on our streets. He voted to allow men and women's sports, is in favor of the transgender mutilation of children, and voted against voter ID, but in favor of allowing illegal aliens to vote in our sacred elections. He is reckless, radical, and dangerous. In contrast, retired U.S. Army colonel and decorated combat veteran Lori Buckhout knows the wisdom and courage required to defend our country, support our brave military and veterans, and ensure peace through strength. As your next Congresswoman, she will work tirelessly to grow the economy, cut taxes and regulations, Unleash American energy dominance, promote made in the USA, keep our border secure, stop migrant crime, and protect our always under siege Second Amendment. Colonel Lori Buckhout has my complete and total endorsement to be the next representative from North Carolina's 1st Congressional District. She will never let you down. So congratulations to Colonel Buckhout on that endorsement, as President Trump is set to headline with the First Lady of the United States. By the way, did you know, as the president has mentioned, she's a movie star now. So go see Melania if you can. It's a great film. Women's History event set to begin at the top of the hour, and we look forward to that. In the meantime, we'll just take a quick commercial break for sponsors here on the right side of history. Stick with us. Don't change that dial. You're watching the #1 source for political events right here in America and abroad. It's Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're looking forward to the POTUS and the FLOTUS for a Women's History event coming up at the White House. We'll look forward to that. Bringing that to you at the top of the hour. In the meantime, thank you to our sponsors, Rumble Wallet. Free speech meets financial freedom. You may have seen the conversations happening online, censorship back, and we know what it's done in the past, taking big names and patriots like you at home off of the internet, and quite frankly, a violation of your First Amendment rights, raising the conversation about fighting back peacefully and patriotically. Now, Rumble, such an amazing company which we need to support every day, creating the Rumble Wallet, which you can download for free at the Google Play Store or the App Store. Rumble is the only company that has stood up to this kind of censorship in our lifetimes. And on one side, you have Rumble challenging big tech censorship and free speech issues. The other side of it is the fact that big banks can literally turn off your account and your credit cards. It's happened to amazing people, amazing patriots, both Republican and Democrat. I think what's happened to President Trump, his family, to General Michael Flynn and his family in this process over the last few years, targets of the deep state. So with Rumble Wallet, you could tip your favorite content creators via crypto, either right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Perhaps you have some podcasters you love out there in the new media world. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money. Not a bank, not even Rumble can get into this wallet because it's yours and no one else can touch it. So protect your future of the family with real gold and the blockchain with Tether Gold, as well as the crypto services out there, including Bitcoin. So jump on this now, wallet.rumble.com, wallet.rumble.com. It's not a wallet to buy and save, but it's also a support system that you can have to fight back against the deep state bureaucracy and the corporations that can turn you off because they don't like what you say. That's rather amazing in 2026 America as we approach 250 years of freedom, but Rumble truly leading the way, protecting free speech and protecting your assets. Wallet.rumble.com. And another service where you can actually tip via the Rumble wallet, Kalshi.com/RSBN, to use for trades and bets on the political market. So the big question right now, who will be the 2028 Republican nominee for president? Will it be the Vice President, J.D. Vance? Will it be Secretary of State, Marco Rubio? Senator Ted Cruz? Does the neocon, Nikki Haley, come back and make a showing of it in 2028? Trade on the most important events from music, sports, culture, politics, and more. Trade live now at Kalshi.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code there for all of the action. As we were joined earlier by Philip Patrick of the Birch Gold Group to dive into these very questions about diversifying your assets and your savings, everything you worked hard for as we approach 250 glorious years of the United States of America. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's Philip Patrick of Birch Gold. Such a joy to be higher. So what's the economic, and can Americans start paying attention to this right now? Will this be something to worry about down the road?
Yeah, look, great question. I think the key issue isn't necessarily the conflict itself, it's the disruption to global energy markets. Right now, traffic through the Straits of Hormuz has slowed dramatically, and that's one of the most important shipping routes in the world. About 20% of the world's cargo goes through there. While oil flows tighten, we see prices start to rise quickly. Oil right now is about $95 a barrel. A few weeks ago, it was $60 a barrel. So it's an over 50% increase. And this is very important because energy prices ripple through the entire economy. It's not just gas at the pump, it's transportation, it's manufacturing, and ultimately everyday goods. So even though this conflict is happening overseas, the economic impact shows up domestically quite quickly.
Now, some analysts say the United States produces plenty of its own oil today. We know President Trump releasing hundreds of millions of barrels from that strategic reserve. Does that shield the U.S. economy from any kind of inflation or anything that may affect people at the pump directly or even at the grocery store? Because we know that it has to travel to get there.
It's great point. Yes, look, I don't think it's going to have a dramatic effect on oil prices themselves. Oil is priced ultimately in a global market. So even if the US is producing a ton domestically, global supply disruptions still push ultimately prices higher rather. What that means for American families is higher gasoline prices and, as you mentioned, higher transportation costs. What I don't think we'll see in the US is a supply shortage, for the reason that we have significant reserves, but we're going to see higher prices.
So that will be ideally in the short term versus the long term, or does that just depend upon how long this war takes place?
That's a very good point. Duration is going to be very important. If we can get in and out surgically, I think the spikes could level out. If this is protracted and drawn out, I think energy prices will increase significantly and start to fuel what is already an inflationary problem. Trump has done a fantastic job in taming inflation. The concern now is it rears its ugly head again.
Now, how does this complicate the outlook for policymakers? We're in the middle of midterms, even globally, and elections throughout the Western world. Could this have a major impact upon the future of who's making decisions in and around the globe?
Yeah, this put policymakers in a very difficult position. We've got to remember higher energy prices, as we've said, it pushes inflation higher, which normally is an argument for tighter money. But those same higher prices can also slow economic activity by squeezing household budgets and raising business costs. So policymakers are stuck between two risks: inflation on the one side and economic slowdown on the other. Causes a big problem for the Fed, right? Analysts were suggesting the Fed would lower rates heading into the midterm, which is what the administration needs. If we start to see inflation spike, there's going to be pause there. So it muddies the waters.
So, Phil, what would you focus on as an expert with gold, tangible metals, and silver's hot commodities coming from Birch Gold Group, the best in the business, with what's looming over the next few weeks as we go from winter to spring and ultimately into summer? What I'm worried about is price gouging, not just at the pump, but also people traveling for their summer vacations. Is that something to watch out for in the future?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, we got to watch what happens in the Straits of Hormuz. If tanker traffic remains disrupted, I think oil prices will remain elevated. And if those higher energy prices start showing up in inflation data, those shocks tend to move the economy very quickly. So, like I said, duration is going to be key here. If the disruption continues, the oil market's eventually going to rebalance through something that economists call demand destruction. In simple terms, prices will rise until economic activity slows enough to start reducing demand. That historically is met with economic downturn. So, like I said, my big hope is this is quick, surgical, and the spikes in oil prices come down. If not, it's going to be a tougher job for Trump and the team heading into the midterms.
And we know that gold going up over 700% in the last 2 decades, a weakening dollar overall, $39+ trillion in debt. What does that mean for your organization as they look to help people with their 401ks, their IRAs, and reinvestments into tangible golds? Because you can have properties, there's even the whole crypto world right now, but one thing has stood the test of time. It's tangible metals like gold and silver.
You're absolutely correct. And what we're doing is just staying very, very busy in this climate. I think people broadly are now waking up, they're seeing the problems and they're reacting. So, look, I would tell everybody it's not a case for panic, right? The administration are doing very good things, but it's going to take time. And throughout that period, I think we're going to see volatility as we are. We're seeing geopolitical instability. We're seeing dollar devaluation. We still have inflation smoldering. These things are very conducive for growth in safe haven commodities like gold and silver, which is why they're growing at the levels that they are. So I think for everybody out there, it's not about panic. It's about preparation and making sure you have a good hedge in place. And I think in this climate, precious metals are the best way to do that.
And that's a good outlook, I think, because so much of our economy based in the United States, even the Western world, based on quarters, and really the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones can seem unstable at times because they were reacting to what's happening privately, publicly, and different actions throughout the world. So as people look down the road, would you recommend, Philip, maybe looking down the road, not every quarter, but every 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, so they can have more peace of mind with their finances?
I mean, it's people that check the market every day and every minute. It is mentally taxing. And one of the benefits of precious metals, listen, when you invest in a company, that company makes decisions daily, which affects the value. When you buy physical precious metals, you're investing in a commodity and things fluctuate, but over long periods of time, things like gold and silver, they just tend to increase at a steady rate over time. So they can really suit that more passive buy and hold. And I think in a climate where one of our biggest concerns is longer term currency decline, that's the idea with metals. You have it as a portion of your portfolio. As we see currency value decline over the longer term, it increases. So it allows for more passive investment and healthier mindset.
Diversification makes sense in 2026. Philip Patrick of the Birch Gold Group, thank you for joining us. You can visit and get that free gold guide to find out how you can help your IRA and 401k by texting Trump to 989898. Please come back and see us again on the right side of history very soon. Thank you to another great sponsor here on the right side of history. It's covepure.com/RSBN for your health. Look at how easy this machine is. It's like a coffee maker you probably have right on your kitchen counter or in the den. What I love about it, the fact that you can move up to hot temperatures, cold temperatures, lukewarm temperatures rather quickly. Again, we're past the whole new year, new me thing. Rather, do we have the preparation so that you can live a healthy life? This is part where we either forget about it or we make it a habit. We make it as easy as it can be. Because here's the thing, most people overlook having the correct quantity and amount of water, and they go overboard buying new supplements and new fads. But protect what matters most at covepure.com/RSBN. Even mild dehydration can really affect energy, focus, and sleep patterns as well. So you want to be on top of your game, whether it's at home or at work. And you could do this with the leading reverse osmosis system with its ClearWave technology, removing 99.9% of the impurities out of the water. Things like chloride to fluoride to also the agricultural runoff and medicine waste. You don't want that in your water, especially if it's not fit for your body to consume. So remove all of that with this easy to use system, covepure.com/RSBN. And those PFAs and microplastics, we've read about them, but people like Secretary RFK Jr. really vindicated through HHS wanting clean air and clean water. Everyone wants it, Republican and Democrat voters alike. And you can now get $250 off this leading reverse osmosis system at covepure.com/RSBN. Also, thank you to angelpaste.com, the miracle cream that keeps on giving. Non-GMO, no chemicals, great for you to use really all throughout the year, but especially as the temperatures change from cold to warm. And the orange option, vitamin C infused, also non-GMO, no chemicals, with a natural facial spray. So check out the Christian-owned company that hires veterans right there in the great state of Texas, the Lone Star State. They are home in the Houston Metroplex, a suburb named Spring, quite a lovely place to live, right off the Gulf of America. It's angelpaste.com, 10% off now with code RSBN. Scan that QR code there for angelpaste.com. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history as we run down what is happening on Truth Social. President Trump sharing a number of ideas and endorsements, including number 9, Brandon Herrera in Texas, who received that endorsement, an America First patriot who is running to represent the wonderful people of Texas's 23rd Congressional District. Brandon is strongly supported by many highly respected MAGA warriors in Texas and Republicans in the U.S. House. And here's next congressman. He will work tirelessly to advance our Make America Great Again agenda. Brandon will fight hard to grow the economy, cut taxes and regulations, advance made in the USA, unleash American energy dominance, safeguard our elections, champion school choice, keep our borders secure, stop migrant crime, support our brave military, veterans, and law enforcement, and protect our always under siege Second Amendment. Brandon Herrera is my guy, my complete and total endorsement to be the next representative from Texas's 23rd Congressional District. He will never let you down. And that race, of course, going into a runoff. So we have the Lone Star State, which really kicked off those March 3rd elections in an anti-incumbent insurgents taking place, and a couple of big races, including their Senate race between John Cornyn and Ken Paxton, forthcoming. As the President and First Lady at 4 o'clock Eastern will be hosting a Women's History event. If you're just joining us, I'm Robert McNeely. It's always an honor to be with you as we're zeroing in on the Save America Act. In cut number 10, Congressman Thomas Massie was the only Republican who did not support this House legislation, the Republican Party's worst congressman ever. Thomas Massie is attacking our great Navy SEAL hero Ed Galrine, who was running against him in the primary, saying Ed became the independent for a period of time long ago. The fact is, many people do that, but Ed still supported me, and strongly, which is far more than Massie ever did or does. Ed came back into the party after he saw the strength and wisdom that I displayed. Many people have joined and rejoined our party, but Massie did not, because he only votes no. It will be interesting to see what he does with the Save America Act, which is simply Number 1, all voters must show voter identification. Number 2, all voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. No mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. No men and women's sports, and no transgender mutilation surgery for children, something that most Americans want. But he'd like to vote no, but on this one, there may be too much pressure even on him to do that. Thomas Massey, sometimes referred to as Rand Paul Jr., because he only votes no, is a complete and total disaster as a congressman and a human being. He is disloyal to the Republican Party, the people of Kentucky, and most importantly, he is disloyal to the United States of America. He is a misfit who should be voted out of office ASAP. Vote for Ed Galrine, a man who has my complete and total endorsement. He is a true American hero, signed by the president. And we saw Captain Galrine yesterday with President Trump there in Hebron, Kentucky, for a rally in the 4th Congressional District. If you like what you see here, your go-to live desk and rally network, also the #1 place for political events in all of America and throughout the world. RSBN is your viewer-supported site. rsbnetwork.com/donate. We are viewer-supported. We rely on great donations from viewers like you. rsbnetwork.com/donate to help this effort to bring you unbridled access to your 45th and 47th President of the United States, your 50th Vice President, and the 119th Congress. In addition to that, you may send check or money order to 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. The loveliest village on the plains is Auburn, Alabama, 36830. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Thank you for all of your support over the last decade plus as we continue to be your go-to rally network and now your #1 live event space for political events right here in what's going to be a very consequential election, no question about that. And one of our favorites running for those offices up there in Minnesota, where he makes all of the American-made products right there at mypillow.com/RSBN. Please support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network with the mattress topper sale as low as $99.99 plus free shipping with the promo code RSBN. Call today. Do not delay. It's 800-836-7566. Again, 800-836-7566. 2,000 plus options at this website. Some of my personal favorites, the My Coffee. I actually have it right over here. I'll grab it for you and show you just how wonderful and hopeful this bag of coffee is. And it not only smells great, but the dark and light roast pretty fantastic. And you have right there Mr. Mike Lindell on the front cover, the American flag and the Bill of Rights, someone who has fought so hard to bring election integrity and free speech back to this country, and now can bring some common sense, God willing, to the great state of Minnesota and its fine residents. Also, the My Slippers, fantastic to have on in the morning. The My Pillow 1.0, My Pillow 2.0, all intended to give you a better night's sleep and an even restful morning as you get out the door. That's what matters most. Those Giza Dream Sheets, pretty nice as well. But right now, the mattress and topper sale as low as $99.99 plus free shipping. mypillow.com/RSBN, promo code RSBN. As we get towards the bottom of the hour, diving into all of the issues of the day, including the president and the First Lady at a Women's History event at the top of the hour, so be sure to continue joining us for all of the excitement. With cut number 11, President Trump focused on this DHS funding, getting that over the hump there in the United States Senate, but we'll actually go on to number 12 and the incidents going on in Iran. President Trump touching on that recently with the conflict happening now 2 weeks old.
They are pretty much at the end of the line. Doesn't mean we're going to end it immediately, but they've got no Navy, they've got no Air Force, they've got no anti-air traffic, anything. They have no systems of control. We're just riding free range over that country. And now we're going to look very strongly at the Straits. The Straits are in great shape. We've knocked out all of their boats. They have some missiles, but not very many. I think we're in very good shape. The main thing is we have to win this thing, win it quickly, but win it. And there are many people, I'm just watching some of the news, most people say it's already been won. It's just a question of when. When do we stop? We don't want to let it regrow, and ideally would like to see somebody in there that knows what they're doing. In other words, they can build a country. Now, one other thing, we can hit sections of Tehran and other places that if you do it, it'll be almost impossible for them to rebuild their country. And we don't want that. But we can hit electric, we could take apart their electric capacity within 1 hour, and it would take them 25 years to rebuild it. So ideally, we're not going to be doing that.
And as we asked Philip Patrick earlier on in the broadcast, the Straits of Hormuz and the oil commodities, how that will affect the world. President Trump touching on that with cut number 13 on his return trip from Hebron, Kentucky.
Just a timeline on when you're planning to tap the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, a timeline of when that could happen?
We're going to be doing it very quickly, and then we'll fill it up. We'll fill up our reserves. You know, if you remember, I filled them up, and then I had a deal to go at the highest level, a level that's never been, and Schumer and the Democrats for $25, and it was turned down. You remember that, Peter. Almost before your time, but not quite. But it was, we had a deal at $25. Think of that, $25 a barrel, and the Democrats turned it down. We're going to tap it out like it's never been, but they turned that down, and now it's a lot higher.
And with that being released right now, will hopefully bring some relief at the pump as it's temporarily spiked as a result of all this. 1/5 of the United States oil, or the world's oil, going through that strait. But right now, the Armada is still in full effect, whether it be the Mediterranean Sea to the Persian Gulf, all the way to the Arabian Sea. Iran, that is the size of the state of Alaska, is fully surrounded by U.S. naval armada and also to the air with the United States Air Force and also Israeli Air Force enforcing that region. Right now, no boots on the ground outside of the Kurdish actions, which we've seen over the course of over a quarter century. But the reason for this, 47 years of proxy terrorist activity with nearly a dozen groups throughout the region and the Middle East that have wreaked havoc on countless different nations. And a regime that called not only for the death of America, but countless other neighbors they have in the region. Without the Abraham Accords, we would not have such success on the ground initially from the air and the sea. So we'll stay on this story as it continues. But it is truly America first and peace through strength in action with cut number 14 as President Trump is commenting on the Iranian sleeper cells and an open border that could have brought them in during the last administration.
Heard about this bulletin that some law enforcement put out about a possible Iran revenge plot in California where there would be some kind of a boat offshore launching drones towards the...
It's being investigated, but you have a lot of things happening, and all we can do is take them as they come. And the war itself is being prosecuted as well as anybody has ever seen, and this is other countries telling me too. Big countries, powerful countries, they said they've never seen anything like it. And they also agree with what I'm doing. They say it's an evil country, and it's been for 47 years that way.
And if they try to hit us back, have you been briefed about how many Iran sleeper cells there could be inside the U.S. right now?
I have been, and a lot of people came in through Biden with this stupid open border. But we know where most of them are. We've got our eye on all of them, I think.
Is it dozens?
They came in through the open border policies of Sleepy Joe Biden, one of the worst president in the history of our country. And we've got our eyes on all of them. But the war itself is being prosecuted at a level that nobody's seen before. It's pretty amazing to watch.
And as we get ready to host this women's event at the White House featuring the President and the First Lady, we're joined by Bethany Stevens, Communications Director at NASA. Thank you for joining Right Side Broadcasting Network. Bethany, how is this conflict in Iran really affecting NASA and telecommunications on the ground and foreign policy from way up above us in space?
Yeah, well, NASA is a civil space agency. And by the way, thank you for having me. So while that's largely a Space Force issue, we definitely have heard the administrator talk about how space is critical to furthering our national security, specifically when it comes to Operation Epic Fury, which he spoke about this morning.
And tell us largely about...
Sorry?
Yes, go ahead, please.
I was going to say we're largely focused on our Artemis campaign back to the moon right now. So we are looking at getting our rocket back out of the barn, out of the vehicle assembly building and onto the pad so that we can return Americans to the moon for the first time in over half a century. And
tell us how that's changed from the 1960s. President Kennedy talking about we're not going to do what's easy, we're going to do what's hard. We're going to the moon. Of course, way back then, that space race between the United States and the USSR. But now, not only for national security, but for science, for exploration, for expanding upon the human race as we know it. How is Artemis going to make a difference in countless millions, if not billions, of lives?
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned the first space race. We're amidst the second space race, this time with China. They're making huge moves to get back to the moon, and we're aiming to do the same. On Administrator Isaacman's very first day in office, President Trump signed a national space policy committing us to going back to the moon, but not just going there to put a boot print back down or landing humans on there. This time we're going back to stay. So Administrator Isaacman is working on assembling a moon base, and he announced recently this week that we're going to be beginning work on that as soon as next year in 2027. So this time it's not just going back to establish a human being on the moon, but to establish a presence that's going to be imperative for our strategic importance.
And will that look more like a military compound for international defense, or is it more of actual communities on the moon? Because there's been some discussion of that.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily a community. I would say it's analogous to the ISS. So it looks like having a base there on the moon to conduct scientific research to figure out the viability of both human life outside of Earth, but also how we're going to get ourselves to Mars.
That's outstanding. And how does one get picked for some form of duty with that? Is it military service? Is it being a pilot? Or how can the kids at home really seek to dream beyond the stars?
It's all kinds of things. And Administrator Isaacman and President Trump are laser focused on inspiring the next generation of explorers to go further than ever before, propelling America to the stars. President Trump has spoken about it at the State of the Union in his inaugural address. Administrator Isaacman has driven that down. In terms of who gets to go, we have an incredibly accomplished astronaut corps from all corners of America. Many of them do have military service, but that's not necessarily a qualification. A lot of them have STEM degrees. Many of them have master's degrees. It's all kinds of things. So nothing really bars you from becoming an astronaut. It's all about having the grit to get there.
And can you give us more of a detailed timeline of Artemis, where it stands now and what we can see in the future?
Absolutely. So earlier today, we wrapped up our FRR, which is the Flight Readiness Review, establishing that we are still gunning towards April 1st is when we're going to return Americans to the moon and one Canadian on our mission. And we are looking to roll the SLS Space Launch System rocket back out of the vehicle assembly building down at Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida. We're going to get that rocket back out to the pad, do some assessments and checks, and then we're going to be well on our way to returning to the moon. So everything's looking good, and it's just a matter of weeks. Fingers crossed.
Such exciting news for America and the space program as a whole. Now, of course, Right Side Broadcasting Network, home right here in Auburn, Alabama, just north of us, Huntsville. And that's growing so much in space defense and exploration. How is NASA looking to continue its growth and building right here in the Yellowhammer State?
Absolutely. Marshall Space Center is actually a vital part of what we do here at NASA. We have 10 centers all across the nation. Marshall is critical to the Artemis mission and program and process, and they'll continue to be as we increase our launch cadence in the coming years. Administrator Isaacman recently revealed a plan to increase the cadence of launches and update the Artemis architecture to standardize it. Huntsville and Marshall are a vital part of that process. They'll be cranking out rockets and core stages left and right as we continue on to hopefully having up to 4 crewed launches under President Trump.
And under this administration and the innovative nature of the public and private partnerships, has that been an asset to have people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, who have been so interested in space with their own programs, partnered up with NASA at different times to bring more astronauts and scientists up beyond the skies?
Absolutely. We have a booming space industry, and that is one of the great parts of NASA is that we get to partner with people from all corners of the space industry to further our objectives. We have different people that come from different schools of thought that are contributing to this. They're coming up with different innovative ideas, and we get to work with them here on the ground and partner with them hand in hand to further human spaceflight, to further other missions, robotic missions, further the golden age of science and discovery. So there's definitely a ton that we are learning from them and that we are collaborating with them on to advance President Trump's vision for the future of space.
Bethany Stevens in the Communications Department at NASA. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Right Side of History, and come back soon. We're very excited about Artemis, and early congratulations on what's going to be a very exciting April.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
And as we get ready to cover the latest from the Trump White House and this Women's History event, we are set to begin that at 4 o'clock, so stick with us. Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN for 30% off site-wide. Order essential medications, antibiotics to antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, antivirals, and much, much, much more with code RSBN30, including emergency medical kits to Tamiflu, still needed this time of year to fight cold and flu. What's great about All Family Pharmacy is that they want you to have that right to try. Off-label generics, you don't need insurance, there's no red tape, no bureaucracy. Simply, they want you to be prepared, which unfortunately more often than not, we can leave those medicine cabinets empty until it's needed most. So get ahead of the game and reach out to them. A U.S. licensed doctor will review your order on the other end, and they will send that order to you in a couple of days via allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. So scan the QR code now for 30% off site-wide. It's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Once you have your health restored and protected, protect your financial freedom and future by texting Trump to 989898. There you'll find the Birch Gold Group, the leader in this division of tangible metals, having gold and silver to protect and diversify your IRAs and 401ks. With a free info kit, no obligation to you, so what have you have to lose? Because many people, as they dive into the gold and silver game, think, oh, it must be the same. But not one size fits all, and their team will work directly with you to diversify your savings as the dollar continues to be unstable, continues to lose its value, and with that happening, gold going up over 700% in the last 2 decades. So visit Birch Gold Group by texting Trump to 989898 and diversify your IRA and 401ks today. And with that free gold guide, that could help out immensely. Once again, text Trump to 989898 and they'll get you started right away as we are getting ready for this great event at the White House at the top of the hour. In the meantime, going through some of the Truth Social posts by the President and the White House as well. But in case you missed yesterday, a certain someone, Jake Paul, a great fighter, a great online influence, and someone who's come to the MAGA movement, joining President Trump up on stage in Kentucky, and the President mentioning he might be a really good candidate for office one day.
Yeah, what Mr. Trump has taught me is courage. You know, we never back down from a fight, even if they're much bigger than you, much, much bigger than you. And I feel all the local Kentuckians feel the same way. You guys have that fight. You guys have that swag. There's a lot of young kids in here, the future of America. I grew up just a few hours away from here, and my dad taught me to fight. And all of our voices matter in America. And I'm never afraid to speak the truth, and I know you guys aren't. We are here representing the United States, and it's just a blessing. Thank you, Mr. Trump. We need more factories like this thriving all over the country, and I know he's going to be the one to bring that here to us. I know God is with us. I know he wants us on the right side of history. And everyone here has to do their part. And God's got us. Trump's got us. God bless. Love you, Kentucky.
And another great guest, you might remember him from a few years ago and the face crime that his fellow high school peers endured. But now, because of libel and going through civil court proceedings, Nick Sandmann has found himself to be very successful and continues to push young America to the MAGA movement with cut number 16.
Well, thank you. And as I just said, really, the only thing I can say is, Mr. President, thank you. Thank you, and thank you to all of you, because it's us together which can beat the radical left. So thank you. We will always stand with you.
Thank you to our great sponsors here on the right side of history, angelpace.com. Christian-owned, they hire veterans out of Spring, Texas, and around the country. But right there in the Houston Metroplex, they live right by that Gulf of America. So they know how temperatures can fluctuate at times, and that's why this miracle cream can make a massive difference. I use this every day to keep my skin glowing. You should too. Non-GMO, no chemicals, really an amazing product. The orange option, vitamin C infused, also non-GMO, no chemicals, and a natural facial spray can help you paint the town red amongst many others. So visit their website, angelpace.com, 10% off now with code RSBN. Scan that QR code because these are a great group of patriots. I care a lot about them, and they are just some of the best people to partner with, no question. So thank you for the miracle is Angel Paste, a cream unlike any other at angelpaste.com. 10% off now with code RSBN. And again, to make sure you keep your health in order this time of year as the temperatures change, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. It's no red tape, no bureaucracy, no insurance, no hassle, no problem. It's almost as good as a no shoes, no shirt, no problem. But what's great about this company, they're so generous. They offer these amazing deals and 30% off right now through tomorrow with code RSBN30. That's code RSBN30 at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. There's things like antibiotics to antivirals and ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, which there's an additional discount at the website if you visit today, with emergency medical kits and Tamiflu, so important to fight the flu this time of year. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Again, 30% off site-wide. Scan that QR code now and make sure you're stocked up at home and ready to bring these life-saving meds on vacation with you during the spring break months. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history. With cut number 18, Averst CEO was happy to host President Trump and talk about logistics and the great state of Kentucky and what draws people to the Commonwealth. Not only the great weather, but horse country, some of the best, if not the best, bourbon in all of the world. In addition to that Southern hospitality right there up against that Mason-Dixon line in Hebron, Kentucky.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for allowing me an opportunity to share our experiences, how your economic policies and the one big, beautiful bill have positively impacted our employees, company, and family. As mentioned in your earlier comments, the no tax on overtime will greatly benefit our employees, producing an average of $1,400 additional take-home pay per year per person. With this amazing benefit, the savings they will realize can be used to take a family vacation, provide further education for their children, pay bills, or make a down payment on a house or car. Our family and companies have a mission of giving back to our communities. The savings from the lower tax rates and permanently full expensing of equipment will allow us to invest back in our local communities of supporting nonprofit organizations and providing educational scholarship money for students attending local high schools and colleges. Many of our Averst family owners and members who are with us today understands how vital the extension of the estate tax credit exemption is for the continuity and succession planning of our great family business. Our sweat and equity are tied to this building, many others, and our business. Without this extension, it is possible our thriving business would one day need to be sold to pay family estate taxes. President Trump, this is all possible because of your vision to make America great again. On behalf of our family, company, and employees, we want to take this opportunity to welcome you to Northern Kentucky and the Cincinnati region. You are in the heart of Kentucky, home of bluegrass, faster horses, and the best damn bourbon in the world. You are in Trump country right now. If wrapping this up, if we can just take a pause, and I'm going to say a quick little prayer for President Trump, if I could. May God bless and keep you healthy and safe. And may God bless our beloved United States of America and everything it stands for. Thank you, President Trump.
You may have seen the conversations online lately, but we know that people have been deplatformed, lost their freedom of speech, and the battle over the last few years has been one done peacefully and patriotically. But my goodness, Rumble deserves so much credit for moving free speech defense in the right direction, and now it meets financial freedom goals and a new wallet that can fight right back at that censorship by tipping your favorite crypto creators and all of that content with Bitcoin, Tether Gold, amongst others, all that could be held by your Rumble wallet. So let me tell you about this free service at Google Play and the App Store. Don't download for free right now because platforms are controlling narratives, not just speech, but big banks, credit card companies, they can literally turn you off and turn off your digital assets. So how do you fight back? On one side, Rumble is challenging the people that are being thrown off of platforms simply because of what they say. On the other hand, they want to make sure you have all of your cash money and your assets that you can protect. But nothing protects it like Rumble Wallet. You control your money. It's not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Even Rumble cannot touch your Rumble wallet. So visit wallet.rumble.com. It's yours, only yours, for you and your family, for what matters most at wallet.rumble.com. It's not only a wallet to buy and save, but it also allows you to support your favorite content creators online by easily tipping them with the click of a button. There will be no fees when you do this. And you can support us right here through Right Side Broadcasting Network or your favorite podcast and influencer out there in the stratosphere. Very easily done through Rumble Wallet. And now download for free at Google Play and the App Store at wallet.rumble.com. You can also use Rumble Wallet for Kalshi.com/RSBN to place and trade your bets with crypto. For the 2028 Republican nomination question, who will be the next nominee for President of the United States? Will it be the 50th Vice President, J.D. Vance, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, the one who President Trump said is the best Secretary of State we have ever had? Will you have someone like Senator Ted Cruz come out of Texas to make a front-runner status happen? Or someone like Nikki Haley, the neocon, to make another run after 2024? Trade in the most important events. Trade live now at Kalshi.com/RSBN. It's music, sports, culture, and more. And I love to use it myself because when you're watching the big game, when you're watching those big questions that will affect our nation, you might as well trade and bet on it. Kalshi.com/RSBN. As President Trump was ready to leave Kentucky yesterday. He had to do his classic dance out in cut number 17 as he was having a good time in the Commonwealth. Now, the main focus is the Save America Act, as we will soon see the President and the First Lady at a Women's History event at the top of the hour. Now, this Save America Act is the most popular election reform in decades, according to the White House, releasing an email stating that President Trump is urgently calling on Congress to pass the Save America Act immediately and safeguard America's elections from illegal voting. Now, the legislation includes straightforward protections to safeguard America's elections and enjoys overwhelming bipartisan support, except from the radical left Democrats in Washington, D.C. specifically, who just want their own political power to be put over everyone else. It's the same thing with the DHS funding, or lack thereof. They'd rather hold this government hostage in order to get their point across, many points that don't make sense to the American people. Now, the fact is, voter ID requirements very popular with Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike. The Bipartisan Commission on Federal Election Reform was co-chaired by former President Jimmy Carter and James Baker, a Bush 41 asset in the 1980s and early 1990s, noting that IDs currently are needed to board a plane, enter federal buildings, and cash a check. Voting is equally important, to quote that research by the late Jimmy Carter and James Baker. And if you actually visit the Jimmy Carter Presidential Museum in Atlanta, Georgia, it showcases at the beginning that state Senate race in Plains, Georgia, when a peanut farmer came on the political scene and challenged that election of a corrupt Democrat county commissioner and chief elections judge. Jimmy Carter challenged that. Had he not challenged that, had that race not been reversed, we may never have known a President Jimmy Carter, let alone a Governor Jimmy Carter in the early 1970s in Georgia. So it seems to be this double standard where you can have people go on the House floor like Maxine Waters back in the year 2000 in that somewhat controversial election that had to ultimately go to the Supreme Court. And to his credit, the sitting Vice President, Al Gore, the Democrat presidential nominee, asked if she had a senator to coincide with her complaint and her objection, and that she knew the Senate rules, but she still wanted to defy it, even screaming back at the Senate president, then the Vice President, Al Gore. And he said, you need a senator, and having to count those electoral votes in a race that he lost directly. So we've seen this time and again from the Democrat side of the aisle complaining about the results of elections in Washington, D.C. But when that question came about in 2020, all of a sudden, they wanted to criminally prosecute the current commander-in-chief. And we know how that goes, as Charles Stewart, the founder and director of the MIT Election Lab, stated, regardless of how you poll, voters like a requirement for photo ID. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer for a large swath of the American public, including most Democrats. A Harvard CAPS Harris poll put out 81% of Americans favor voter ID, including 79% of independents and 70% of Democrats. Pew Research Center stating that 83% of Americans, including wide majorities of Democrats, independents, whites, blacks, Hispanics, all favor voter ID requirements. Gallup stating that 84% support voter ID, 98% of Republicans do, 84% of independents, 67% of Democrats are on board, while an equally robust 83% back proof of citizenship for that voter registration. Rasmussen reports 75% support voter ID, with support increasing over the past decade. And additional surveys, including from the Center Square, consistently reveal extraordinary support across right, left, and center, bipartisan, in fact, for voter ID laws. Now, the fact is, voter ID laws have no measurable negative on turnout in the electorate. Following Georgia's 2021 voter ID law, the state achieved a record turnout in both 2022 and the 2024 elections. Also in 2021, a review by the National Bureau of Economic Research analyzing a decade of data determined voter ID laws have no negative effect on registration or turnout overall for any group defined by race, gender, age, party, or affiliation. Back to 2014, a study in the Election Law Journal found little support for the hypothesis that notification of ID requirements depresses turnout. To quote them, a 2009 study in the Political Science and Politics magazine concluded voter ID laws have had no significant impact on voting itself. It shows little to no effect on aggregate or individual level turnout. 20 years ago, a 2006 study by the Crime Prevention Research Center found that it's hard to see any evidence that voting regulations differentiate from the harming either minorities or the elderly or the poor, and that regulations that prevent fraud are shown to actually increase the voter participation rates. And one of the big criticisms of that Georgia law from just a couple of years ago was that, you can't have water with you in line. Many of these things are simply made up until you actually go into the hall itself. And for yours truly, it only took me about 5 minutes in my precinct each and every time as I got in there to vote myself. So everyone had access to it that wanted that right to vote. In 2007 analysis by the Heritage Foundation found that voter identification requirements such as requiring non-photo and photo identification have virtually no suppressive effect on reported voter turnout. So voting by mail increases the risk of fraud. This is a fact, as the Commission on Federal Election Reform warned that voting by mail is likely to increase the risks of fraud and of contested elections. To quote them, that absentee ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud, and that vote buying schemes are far more difficult to detect when citizens vote by mail. A 2012 New York Times investigation revealed that votes cast by mail are less likely to be counted and more likely to be compromised and more likely to be contested than those cast in the voting booth. I can contest to that as well. Back in Illinois during my poll watching days, where you had these mail-in ballots come in and you'd stand there with a Democrat counterpart if you're representing the Republicans or vice versa, there with an attorney as well, challenging signatures. And sometimes, because an ID, a proof of ID, was not needed in the Prairie State elections, you'd be contesting, does this signature look like that signature? You could spend so much time on it in a close election. As in 2024, the House Republican Policy Committee found that mass mail-in voting increases opportunities for error and fraud in states that do not maintain clean voter rolls. This is a huge problem, either on a grand scale or somewhat small scale. We saw that even the Commonwealth of Virginia, in an effort led by former Governor Glenn Youngkin to remove roughly 8,000 bad voters on the rolls, those who are either passed away or had moved from the state, and that became a significant number and potentially made it a lot closer during the 2024 presidential campaign. This also brings an inherent set of risks that jeopardize the integrity of elections, that create absurdities that dampen faith in our electoral system, according to that House Republican Policy Report. Thank you to covepure.com/RSBN. Protect what matters most. Get $250 off of covepure.com/RSBN right now. Drink Pure, Live Pure. Scan that QR code there for all of the great options. If you rent, this is fantastic to have this reverse osmosis system because there's no tubes, there's no holes to drill. What you see is what you get by the models there. In addition to that, it removes 99.9% of the bad things in the water, in tap water, from PFAS to microplastics to agricultural runoff and fluoride. Awful to have that if you're trying to live a healthy life. It's not any bigger than your coffee maker at home, so I highly recommend it. It's the leader in reverse osmosis systems, and if you like to steep tea, it gets it real hot real fast, gets it cold real fast. CovePure.com/RSBN, leading with its ClearWave technology, now $250 off at CovePure.com/RSBN. Also, thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, 30% off now, site-wide, on the essential medications from ivermectin to hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, and much, much more, including emergency medical kits and Tamiflu. So needed this time of year. Go to the pharmacy that wants you to have the right to try off-label generic systems and pharmaceuticals that are affordable. Amazing to think that certain pharmacies won't prescribe these things because they're interested more in making money and not necessarily about your health and convenience. No insurance, no red tape, no bureaucracy, just a pharmaceutical note. A U.S. licensed doctor reviews on the other end, goes right back to your door. So great for convenience there at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, code RSBN30 for 30% off as we await the President of the United States and the First Lady at this Women's History event. We'll take a quick commercial break for more sponsorships. Stick with us here on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert McNeely. We are highlighting the Save America Act, and soon we'll have the President and First Lady from the White House for a Women's History event. We'll take you there moments from now. There's a 2023 Heartland Institute and Rasmussen poll found that 21% of mail-in voters admitted to at least one form of voter fraud in the 2020 election. Also, a 2020 report by the Heritage Foundation described widespread absentee and early voting as vulnerable to being misdirected, stolen, forged, and altered, with voters susceptible to intimidation, unlawful assistance, or pressure from campaigns and activists. In 2008, the United States Supreme Court, citing absentee ballot fraud in an Indiana primary, affirmed that not only is the risk of voter fraud real, but that it could affect the outcome of a close election. So the fact is really proof in the pudding. Proving citizenship is a no-brainer. 85% of Americans agree that only United States citizens should be able to vote in our elections. 3/4 support proof of citizenship to vote. The Commission on Federal Election Reform states the right to vote is a vital component to the United States citizenship, and all states should use their best efforts to obtain proof of citizenship before registering voters. Also, a fact that Americans overwhelmingly support the Save America Act. According to the Harvard Caps Harris poll, 71% support the Save America Act, and this includes 69% of independents and half of rank and file Democrats. Now, 80% want states to purge non-citizens from the voter rolls. 60% call the Save America Act a common sense way to stop fraud and protect the security of our elections. And 58% recognize that at least some voter fraud exists in the United States. So Save America Act really is common sense. It's either time to use the talking filibuster to completely reform the rules in the Senate, whatever needs to be done to move forward, as even Senator John Cornyn, in a tough re-election matchup going to a runoff, stating that his view of this has changed in order to protect and secure our federal elections and really to reverse what was done with motor voter all those years ago. And to briefly quote my friend, you may know him from Parler or many other opportunities and things he's done in the movement, John Willis, talking about Democrats today online. And I really, I pretty much John and I can read each other's minds when it comes to just common sense approaches to things. But he stated that Iran is threatening the West Coast with massive drone attacks as a result of what's taken place in the last 2 weeks. The Coast Guard is not being paid thanks to Democrats and rhinos, and the Midwest is being hit hard by tornadoes. That FEMA is also not being paid thanks to these same Democrats and rhinos. Lines at airports across the country are long, and TSA is not being paid thanks to Democrats and rhinos. These terrorist cells are being activated nationwide, and DHS is not being paid thanks to Democrats and rhinos. They are putting millions of lives at risk, all because they want to continue to cheat at the ballot box with illegals and ballot harvesting. They only care about one thing: power. They do not care about your safety. They do not care about your livelihood. They do not care about your freedom. They only care about power and control over you. You can hate Trump and MAGA all you want, but it was not Trump who stole billions, if not trillions, in taxpayer funds and funneled them to illegals and NGOs. It was not Trump who let millions of criminals, traffickers, cartel members, leeches, thieves, and fraudsters into the country. It was not Donald Trump whose taxes every aspect of your life, and then you have to go on without those hard-earned assets. It was not Donald Trump who spied on U.S. citizens, used the Justice Department as a political weapon, and arrested political opponents, including a former president. And John continued to say he has several friends who are very annoyed with him because of his political stances, because they do cause emotion. And it should be an emotional thing. We're in 250 years of this great country of ours. We should care about what happens here at home, domestically and abroad. But I could tell you from my time knowing John that he is one of those great Americans who tells the truth and tells it like he sees it, with a common sense lens like most of us do, both Republican and Democrat, even independent and third party alike. It's really us, the people, we the people, against the deep state bureaucracy of the Washington political class. And that right now really embodies Washington Democrats more than anyone else. The fact that Senator Adam Schiff is upset about Secretary of War Pete Hegseth providing, through taxpayer dollars, steak and lobster for our war fighters so they can have that morale, so they can have a little taste of home when they're gone for months or even years on end in multiple deployments in order to protect the freedoms that we take for granted. I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with that when, it's amazing to see people like Colbert and my good pal Jimmy Kimmel actually make fun of our military for enjoying these times of camaraderie instead of eating MREs on a daily basis. Maybe they should practice that. Maybe something for Mr. Colbert for a Lenten practice, as he claims to be a Catholic in name only. And I can say that because I'm a practicing Catholic myself. But John, I just appreciate your comments today. If you are watching today, my friend, as he concluded, fund DHS, you pathetic losers. We have already had one successful terrorist attack in Austin, Texas that killed Americans, and their blood is squarely on Democrats' hands in Washington, D.C., who refuse to fund this government, who refuse to support our military, who refuse to, with the exception of Senator John Fetterman of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, support common sense reforms, and this president, who we will see right now in the East Room of the White House, the President and the First Lady at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
United States, Donald J. Trump, and First Lady Melania Trump.
Good afternoon. Please sit down. It is wonderful to see here in the White House so many incredible women this afternoon. The strength of America is closely tied to the role women play in shaping their children's character, education, and morals. The values cultivated within our communities shape the voice and vision of our next generation. A woman's influence strengthens our democracy, capital markets, and time-tested business institutions. Across the country today, women are finding unique ways to balance career ambition and family. We all know these incredible women. They dominate America's workforce now more than ever before. As a visionary, I know success is not born overnight, but rather takes shape after a long and sometimes challenging process. Often alone at the top, I follow my passion, listen to my instinct, and always maintain a laser focus. In solitude, my creative mind dances, filling my imagination with originality. Attention to detail, demanding schedules, and multitasking are everyday realities when building towards success. The principle resonates across all my roles as a mother, humanitarian, philanthropist, and entrepreneur. As well as with my new film, where I shaped its creative direction, served as a producer, managed post-production, and activated the marketing campaign. Curiosity is a core value that keeps me ahead of the curve. Curiosity begets knowledge, opening doors to ideas and industry that I have otherwise overlooked. This unrestricted mindset has led me to build across very different sectors: fashion, digital assets, publishing, accessories, skincare, commercial television, and of course, filmmaking. The lessons I learned when launching my earliest ventures, such as how to build a brand, create superior product design, and activate an advertising campaign, remains just as relevant today. Markets evolve, technologies change, but the fundamentals of thoughtful leadership and continuous learning are everlasting. To all of the young women, entrepreneurs, and future leaders, make time for yourself, educate yourself daily, and spread your passion. Be courageous and take risks. Advance your profession through inspiration. Be a bold chief executive while keeping your family, if you choose so, at the center of your nation's future. And now, it is my privilege to introduce our Commander-in-Chief, who throughout his career has demonstrated a strong commitment to promoting women in leadership roles. Please welcome the President, Donald J. Trump.
Well, thank you very much. Movie star, can you believe this? Can you believe it? That wasn't supposed to happen. We were supposed to have a nice, normal life. But she's terrific and big success. And I think it was #1 last night streaming. It went on streaming last night. It was #1. So I don't know. Maybe she's getting a little too big for the White House. We'll have to think about it. Anyway, thank you, honey. She really is something. I want to really congratulate you, and I want to thank everyone for being here today. It's very exciting. It's always exciting to be with you. We love women. Women are the whole deal, okay? And today is very special because we celebrate Women's History Month. That's what it's about every year. And before we begin, I want to send our love to the Michigan Jewish community and all of the people in the Detroit area following the attack on the Jewish synagogue early today. And I've been fully briefed, and it's a terrible thing, but it goes on. We're going to be right down to the bottom of it. It's absolutely incredible that things like this happen. On another front, an entirely different front, the situation with Iran is moving along very rapidly. It's doing very well. Our military is unsurpassed. There's never been anything like it. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And we're doing what has to be done. Should have been done during a 47-year period. Could have been done by a lot of different people. They chose not to do it. But they really are a nation of terror and hate. And they're paying a big price right now. We're honored to be joined by many extraordinary ladies, working moms, and amazing women who are making history themselves. You really are. I want to thank Second Lady Usha Vance, who's a fantastic person. Where is Usha? Usha? And really, you have been such an inspiration to a lot of women. Usha, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And your husband's doing a good job. The youngest and perhaps the best White House press secretary in history. Caroline, where's Caroline? Doing a fantastic job, Caroline. She keeps me straight. She keeps me, no, sir, you can't do that. You can't do this. I can't do anything. Life would be so much more exciting, wouldn't it? Thank you, Caroline. Great. Attorney General Pam Bondi, my friend. Good, good. Got some big things in store. She's doing a great job. Thank you, Pam. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer. Thank you, Lori. Thank you very much. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, who just had, what did you get, 84, 85% of the vote? What's going on? You know? Now I can tell this story. But Cindy Hyde called me up years ago when she first ran. It was a tough race. It was one of their top people in the White House. I won't mention the president because we don't want to mention anybody. Get yourself in a lot of trouble. But it was a top person, and it looked very tough for any Republican candidate. And Cindy Hyde was the one, and she was not, I don't know, not like the people that knew her loved her, but not a lot of people knew her. And she said, sir, could you do me a favor? Could you give me a rally? I said, a rally's a big deal. And I got there, and she said, would you stay and do another rally in another part of the state? Nobody's ever, and we ended up with 3 of them, and she won in a landslide, right? And now she's at 85%. And now she wins. She doesn't need rallies. I say, do you want me to do a rally? I don't need any rallies, sir. She got 85%. Good. I was so happy to see. I'm not surprised, but I was so happy. And that's because you've done a great job. Great job. Thank you very much. Representatives, Virginia Fox, my friend for a long time. Virginia, thank you. Kat Kamek. Kat, thank you very much. Thank you, Kat. Diana Harshbarger. Where's Diana? Diana, thank you. A friend of mine, a very talented person too, very smart, Victoria Sparks. We argue, but we always come to the same place. Doing a good job. And of course, Kellyanne Conway. Has anyone ever heard of her? She's fantastic. She's in there fighting. She's a Kellyanne. A friend of mine said, you know that Kellyanne, I admire her, the way she goes in and she screams at those people she's got us, meaning the media, because this is a man that doesn't do very well with the media. It's one of those things. But thank you, Kellyanne. And also, I want to thank the New York Stock Exchange and the person who is so instrumental in its great success, Lynn Martin. Thank you very much, Lynn. Great job. Great job. Say hello to Jeff, right? Thank you very much. Going all the way back to our nation's founding in 1776, America has been strengthened beyond measure by the courage, by the spirit, love, devotion, and the incredible woman. I mean, all of these incredible women who have served our nation, uplifted our communities, pioneered new industries, and been the heart and soul of the American family. And they are the heart and soul. From Martha Washington to Betsy Ross, from Clara Barton to Amelia Earhart, and Rosa Parks to Aretha Franklin, American women have propelled us to even greater heights. And now the Trump administration is working every single day to make America better, safer, and more prosperous for women and men, but much more importantly for women. And they are really the inspiration. They are so powerful and so important and so beautiful. I'm not allowed to use the word beautiful, but I'm using it anyway. Usually it's the end of your political career. If you say a woman's a beautiful woman, they say that's the termination of his career, but somehow it hasn't hurt too much. You're incredible women and you're beautiful women. Well, we're here to celebrate Women's History Month today. We also are celebrating National Working Moms Day, a very special day. And since I took office, we've created more than 300,000 jobs now filled by proud, hardworking American women. It's a record. The number of women-owned businesses increased by 1.2 million last year alone. That's also a record. These are all records. Got a lot of records. Think of that, 1.2 million last year alone, businesses opened by women. Very ambitious people, very, very ambitious, very, very amazing. To support working moms like many in this room, last year we passed the largest tax cuts in American history. So our opponents, as you know, want to raise taxes. We decided to lower taxes. All my life, I've watched politicians. I've only started this about 10 years ago. But I watched politicians, and I watched them so diligently. I loved it. I loved watching. They would say, we will cut your taxes. We're going to cut your taxes. We'll cut your taxes. Even if they didn't mean it, they said it. The Democrats say, we will raise your taxes. I've never heard anything. But maybe that's why we won in a landslide. Maybe. But we did cut your taxes. And that includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. That's a big deal. And with us today is Heather Kell, joined by her 14-year-old beautiful son, Finley. Heather is a single mom and waitress in Hendersonville, North Carolina, a great place. And thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill, she got a big, beautiful tax refund of $4,000 this year, which she didn't expect. And Heather, please come up and tell us how excited you are to receive that. Come on up, Heather. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here today. I have been a waitress for over 20 years, and a lot of the people I've seen come and go in the industry are single moms, and they work hard. They're the hardest working people I know. And then at the end of the year, they're always super stressed out because they don't know where they're going to come up with the extra couple $1,000s that they owe on the taxes. And this year, I had to do a double take. I had to do my taxes twice to make sure this was real. I couldn't believe it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
I love that ending. Wouldn't that be? That's from the heart. That's from the heart. Thanks, Heather. Spend it wisely, right? Thank you. Also with us is Nora Pruitt, a proud mom of 7 and a sheet metal worker from Baltimore, Maryland. She's seeing how our manufacturing renaissance is bringing opportunity back to America. And if you would, please come up, Nora. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Nora Pruitt. I'm blessed with a wonderful husband, Jason Pruitt, and my 7 adorable children. I'm a working mom. I used to be a housekeeper for 9 years. A year ago, I got a job, a career job, at Marlin Steel Wire Productions in Baltimore, Maryland. I was matched with great pay, a 401k with great match. I got a huge promotion to set up a wire forming machine. We only use USA steel and we only make in the USA. With the big beautiful bill, we were able to buy one of the most expensive tools our factory's ever bought. Within that, it totally changed our lives. We were able to buy a 5-bedroom home on an acre of land. I just want to tell you thank you so much.
Thank you. Wow. That's pretty good, huh? So we have another person that I'm going to introduce. You know, they said, "Do you mind bringing up 5 people?" I said, "Not really, but it's a lot." Then I looked at him and I said, "How about some more like that? We want more." But thank you. It's great. Great job you did. Another working mom benefiting from our policies is Lexi Chambers. And she's a 2nd-generation farmer from Virginia who's got 2 wonderful daughters, June and Tilly. They're benefiting from our one big, beautiful bill. I always say great, big, beautiful bill because I like it better, Pam. They say, "Sir, that's not the exact." I said, "Don't worry about it. It'll be just fine. Great, big, beautiful bill," because that's what it is. And the $12 billion in farm relief we issued using tariff revenue. We get $12 billion. We took in tremendous amounts of money. We're taking in money because of the tariffs, and really jobs are coming in through the roof, and we have factories being built all over the country. As an example, in the last administration, less than $1 trillion in 4 years. We've taken in $18 trillion plus in 11 months. We haven't included the 12th month yet. So we're at more than $18 trillion, and it's a record in the history of our country. We've never done anything, and that was for a lot of good things. It was because of November 5th, but it was also because of tariffs. So, Lexi, please come up and say a few words. Lexi, come on up, Lexi. So beautiful. Nice to see you. Come on in.
Hi, my daughter June had to join me. She was not one to stay. As a wife of a 2nd-generation Virginia farmer, one of my biggest goals, second to teaching my children to love Jesus above all else, is to ensure that my daughters have the opportunity to farm one day. President Trump, your support of American agriculture through your changes and updates of the estate tax relief for family farms has allowed families like mine the opportunity to ensure that my daughters can farm one day. Thank you for your work on OBBB and your support of the American family farm.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's beautiful. You know, one of the things that we were just thinking about and talking about, and something so important is exactly that. You mentioned, I never mention it, but so big when you want to pass on your farm to your beautiful daughter someday. A lot of people, until we came along, I came along, we all came along together, you had a tremendous estate tax. They call it a death tax. You want the farm to go, well, they had tremendous estate tax. In some cases, they're sort of semi-land rich but cash poor, but that's the way it is sometimes. And farms were being lost all over the country. They were being taken away from the banks. And we ended the death tax. We ended it for the farmers, for manufacturers, and small businesses. So you're not going to be losing your farms anymore. Okay? It's going to be a long time from now, many, many years, 70, 80 years, but just going to have no tax to pay, okay? It's going to be in a long time. Thank you very much. That was great. One of the most important ways we can support women is by bringing law and order and public safety back to our country. And for the past 10 months in a row, think of that, 10 months in a row, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States, which is an amazing number. In 1 year, we've seen the largest decline in the murder rate in 125 years. It's back to the year 1900. That's before my father was born. He never liked talking about age. He probably would hate me saying that, but it was before, way before my father was born. And 125 years, the lowest number of murders. And part of that is what we've done with your department, Pam, and what we've done with some other departments. And Homeland has been amazing. So many people have worked so hard. You know, Washington, D.C. did not have a great reputation for security and safety. And now, as you know, it's the single, well, let's just say it's real safe. Because somebody's going to have to be very careful with the fake news media. They will say, well, wait a minute, there was a place in Tennessee that was it's gone from a very dangerous place where a lot of bad things happen to one of the safest cities in the country. You can come here now, and we've had an amazing record. It's been incredible. It's a real turnaround. Likewise, Memphis, Tennessee, a lot of problems. The mayor called, the governor called, and we went out and did a job. And in 3 months, crime is down 74%, and we'll get it down even beyond that, much beyond that. It was very quick. But I also deployed the National Guard to bring back safety to Memphis and New Orleans and all these other places, and they have done some job. What great people they are. Our capital is now considered, in fact, here's a stat, the safest capital anywhere in the world. How about that? We went from probably the most unsafe. I think we went from the most unsafe to certainly one of the safest. And here today is an outstanding female law enforcement officer keeping her community safe, Sheriff Michelle Cook from Clay County, Florida. Great place, Florida. Come on up. Michelle grew up in a military family, started as an officer almost 35 years ago, and has now been sheriff for nearly 6 years. And she's done a great job, and maybe more importantly, she's a great mom, they say. I think you're a great mom. So thank you very much, Michelle. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, the only place safer than Washington is going to be Clay County, Florida. Okay, all right. Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Cook, and I am a 35-year law enforcement veteran, and I currently serve as the elected sheriff in Clay County, Florida. And I'd like to thank the President, Mrs. Trump, for having all these beautiful women in here today. Thank you so much. My husband, Don, and I are raising a big, beautiful blended family that includes 6 kids. And there's 2 topics that I know very, very well. That's raising kids and serving my community. Raising a family is an honor, and with President Trump's no tax on overtime law, families can now recognize additional dollars from their hard work. Up to $12,500 per individual, and up to $25,000 back in the pockets of hardworking Americans who work overtime to make their families happy and to provide the necessities that they need. And I want to say thank you for that, because it is making a difference in Clay County, Florida. I'd also like to talk about law enforcement. As I mentioned, I've done 35 years in this field. And one thing that I will tell you is that crime will rise to the level that a community allows it to rise. And when you have a president of the United States standing up from the White House in the Washington, D.C., saying that we will have law and order in our nation, that sets the tone and that sets the expectation. And I can tell you, it is an honor to serve my community with you at the very top, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. In closing, I would like to say God bless our first responders, God bless our military, God bless our president, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. And she looks like no games. I'm watching her. I'm saying, she looks like a tough one. Thank you. And I hear you do an incredible job. I got the word from Florida. Great honor. As we make our community safe again, my administration is also fighting for school choice and also bringing education back to the states so that you run them, right, Virginia? So that you run them from your local community, not from Washington, D.C. We've done that, and Linda McMahon has done an incredible job, by the way. And that's done so that American moms can send their children to a school that shares their values and everything else. The Trump administration listens to women and moms, which is why we are doing more to help women struggling with infertility than any administration in history. This all started when I got a call from Katie Britt, a great senator from Alabama. I don't know if she's here, but I never said be here. But she did call me and she said, listen, we have a problem. And she explained the problem. I wasn't that familiar with it, I must tell you. But after about 2 minutes, I understood it very well. And we really took that issue, infertility. We took the whole situation with what was happening. So many bad things were happening throughout the country, and we solved it with my most favored nation agreements that we just had approved by other countries, just about all the countries all over the world, which had they always said, Kellyanne, you couldn't get them to do it. I got them all to do it, and the calls lasted not even that long a period. I said, you got to do it because we were paying the highest price anywhere in the world for drugs and prescription drugs, and now we're paying the lowest price anywhere in the world. They had to agree to it. They did. They had to agree. They said it would be impossible to get. The drug companies had to get them, but they didn't care because they said, you'll never get the countries, but I got the countries quickly. I said, listen, Emmanuel, like France, just as an example, you have to double the price of your drugs. You'll still be low, but you have to double them. No, I will not do that, Donald. I will not do that. Are you crazy? I'm not going to double the price. But this has gone on for 35 years. And I said, no, you're going to do it. You're going to, no, I will not do it. Yes, you are. And I'll tell you why. Because if you don't do it, I'm going to put a big tariff on everything coming in from France or whatever country, because I made numerous of these calls. And it took me, the first answer was always, no, Donald, I will not do it. The second answer was like, well, I agreed to do it. And every single country agreed. And because of that, we are cutting your drug prices by 60, 70, 80, and even 90%. Can you believe that? That's the biggest thing to happen in medicine in so long. And when you think about it, it used to be, I had a time, we had a very successful first term, best economy ever. We did a lot of great things. We rebuilt our military. That's one of the reasons we're doing so well now with our military. I never thought I'd have to be using it so much. But when you look at what they did in Venezuela and now what they're doing in Iran, it's been amazing. But when you look at all of this, everybody was saying that this could never be done with the drugs. It could never be done. And in my first term, I was so proud of myself because I was able to cut the drugs 1/4 of a pence. Now, this doesn't sound so good, but I was proud. 28 years, drug costs went up, and it never stopped. Went up, up, up. And I had, in my third year, I cut drugs by 1/4 of 1%. And it was like a big deal because that never happened before. And I had a news conference. I announced that I cut drugs 1/4. It's the first time in 28 years. But now I cut drug prices by 80%, 75%. A low one, a bad one would be 50%. Think of it, 1/4 of a percent, I was happy. But with experience, you learn. And these are the biggest drug price cuts this country's ever had by 25 times. And I think it's going to make a very big difference. All you great Congress people back there that helped me. It's going to make a great difference. There's never been anything like it. It's called Most Favored Nation agreements. I got them with all the countries. And so now instead of paying the highest price in the whole world, we're paying the lowest price in the whole world. Oh, it's pretty good. And I'm very, very happy, very proud of that, actually. It should be the biggest story. I don't get any, nobody wants to write about it. That's why I talk about it. They don't want to write about it. There was a little story like this in the New York Times. Should have been headlines. I picked up the New York Times. I said to my wife, oh, this is a big one. This is going to be front pages. I couldn't find the story. I said, oh, they must have been a little bit late. You know, they are a lot late. So I figured it was the next day. I looked the next day. There was nothing. It's unbelievable. How would you like to cut drug prices, Kellyanne? How would you like to cut drug prices by 80% and not have a story about it? Something a little cuckoo there, isn't there? But the people got it. That's why we won. The people got it, Sheriff, right? But I'm also doing something else with, I think was, not much. To me, I say, can this really be possible? We're keeping men out of women's sports. Is that okay with 90% of the people? And we're putting that in the Save America Act as one of our 5. That's voter ID. We want voter ID. We want proof of citizenship. We want no transgender mutilization of your children. We don't want transgender mutilation. That's number 3. We want no men in women's sports. That's number 4. And we don't want to have mail-in voting where the votes go. Where the hell do they come from? So we do that. It's 5 things. They're all 99%. They say, oh, that's an 80% issue, like voter ID. No, I think it's a 99. I think the Democrats have it at 87%. The leadership doesn't want it. Why don't you want voter ID? There's only one reason. Ready? Because you want to cheat. Okay? They blame it on all sorts of things. They came up, they said it's racist. They came up with things that you have to say their imagination is great. No. We're not going to let them cheat like they did in a certain election that we won't talk about. But that election was, and they cheat now. Look, we're not going to let it happen. So we're going to go get the Save America Act, not the Save Act. Nobody knew what the Save Act meant. The Save Act, what? Save what? Save America Act. And we're going to do everything we can. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe we're having a hard time. I think anybody that votes against it shouldn't be allowed to run for office. You want to know the truth. But we're working very hard on it. It shouldn't be. Every one of those 5 points, every one of them is, I think, close to a 95%. They say voter ID, that's an 80% issue. It's not 80%. It's 99%, I believe. And so are most of the others. So those 5 points, I call them best of. They're best of Trump, like best of for an athlete. The best plays, best of. These are best of Trump. So hopefully we're going to get them. But I'm also keeping the men out of the women's sports. And I signed an executive order declaring that there are only 2 genders, male and female. Complicated, isn't it? Male and female. I don't think the First Lady's going to have a problem. Am I okay with that one? I'm not. Because she will say to me sometimes, I don't like that particular stance. I don't know. That's okay. We like that baby crying. Melania would say, I don't like that particular stance, but I think we're okay on that one. 2 genders, okay? Male and female. I think so. We'll be okay. And we have put the world on notice that America will not allow men to compete against women in the 2028 Olympics, where we have the Olympics. And we have the Olympics, we have the World Cup coming up, and we have 20, the biggest is 250, and I did all 3 of them. I did the Olympics, I got the Olympics, then I got the World Cup, then I got 250, but I've never been given credit for that. The men, they won't give me credit for 250 years, but I'm here for 250. I tried to take credit for that, but I haven't been able to get it. But a person that I recognized immediately when I came into the room, I looked down, I said, because I didn't read, I can't, if I prepare my speeches, I won't have time to get things done. Do you ever hear that? Yeah, I cannot prepare. So I didn't know who the hell I was speaking to, but I walked in and I saw this beautiful woman with the blonde hair. I watched that bobsled. I don't know how the hell you do it, Kaylee. But Kaylee was the star, big star of the Olympics and other Olympics also. And she's a 6-time Olympic medalist. Think of that. And she's won more gold medals than any other female bobsledder in history. She's a total champion. I watched the whole deal with you. you were getting ready, and they said, maybe, I don't know, she was prime, 8 years ago. They said that was terrible, and then you ended up winning again, you know. You're going to be prime for a long time, I'll tell you that. What a tremendous athlete, and it's an honor. But I literally walked in, and I said, because I don't know most of you, unfortunately, but I knew her because I watched that whole thing. And she recently got back from Cortina, Italy, where she won 2 bronze medals as America cheered her on, and she's won the golds, and she's won more than anybody else. And it's amazing to have you here, and it's a great honor. Come on up, Kaylee.
I don't know about braver, but it's a real honor to be here today. Yes, I'm a 6-time Olympic medalist, 3 of them gold, but the title, I'm most proud of is mom. Thank you. Yes. My journey to motherhood was a 2.5-year process through IVF. And I was constantly told that as soon as I became a mom, my career in athletics was going to be over. I was never going to reach the Olympic podium again. Mentally, physically, I could never get my body and my mind back. And I think the ultimate way to tell somebody that, you know, they'll never do it, say don't do it, and I'm going to go out and do it. That's just how it goes. The ultimate dream I had was to become a mom and then be able to stand on the Olympic podium. And this year I got to do that with my 1.5-year-old son. Thank you. Yes. So being able to earn these 2 bronze medals, they feel like gold. They really do. He is my gold medal and will always be for the rest of my entire life. As a legal immigrant competing for the United States of America, a country that has adopted me, it's one of the greatest honors I've had in my entire life. Having my 1-year-old son chase me around the Olympic podium, another huge honor and a dream come true. I want to encourage every single mother out there to follow your dreams and don't let anybody put limits on what you believe you can do. The only Olympic medalists we're actually allowed to award what's called the Order of ECOS. So every Olympic medalist in the United States gets an Order of ECOS that they get to hand to somebody in honor and recognition of somebody who's made a meaningful contribution to their journey to the podium, because Olympic medals are never achieved alone. So I am here today, and I'm so honored to present this, my Order of ECOS medal, to you, Donald Trump. Thank you. So we only get one, but I want to recognize the support and the impact you've had on women's sports throughout the Olympic movement, specifically standing up to keep biological women in women's sports, to keep the field of play safe and allow for fair competition. Furthermore, because your policies are creating greater access to IVF, so families like mine can continue to grow as I look to become and expand my family again, I believe this actually makes you the first president in history to ever be awarded an Order of ECOS as well. So thank you. Oh, here. We'll do that. Isn't he just the best? He's the best. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow. I knew I liked her. I liked her right from the first second. Now I know why. That's good. That's really nice. Beautiful. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it. So I'm going to now do a little signing, and the signing is going to be very impactful, very important, and it's something that Melania feels very strongly about, and so do I, and perhaps the people that I called before, come on up, and if you want, bring your families up. Bring your families, and we'll sign all together. Is that okay? Come on. So, you ready? Okay. No auto pen, right, Pam? Am I allowed? Nope, no auto pen. Okay, ready? Watch what I do. So quiet. Okay, we did it. You want that? Hand these out. Yes. Here you go, you champion. Won so much gold, she doesn't know what to do with it. It's gotten very valuable lately, gold. I want to thank you all very much. That's really nice. You take another one. There you go. Thank you all very much. Fantastic. Thank you.
And a heartwarming event this afternoon, the President and the First Lady hosting a women's event there at the White House, and a rare occurrence where the President winning an award. He's usually giving out those himself, as we saw at the State of the Union, but a fitting conclusion to today's afternoon events. And it's almost 5 o'clock somewhere right there in the federal city on the East Coast in the White House. Thank you for joining us today, 2 o'clock on the West Coast. For all of my colleagues here on the right side of history, where you can find the #1 location for all political events here in the United States and abroad, as we're focused on all of those issues inside and outside of the Beltway, especially the Save America Act and funding our government. What will Democrats ultimately do? We'll watch as the ball is in their court. Thank you for tuning in today, your go-to live desk and rally network right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. For all my colleagues, I'm Robert McNeely. Thank you for joining us. May God bless you and yours on this Thursday, March 12th, and we'll see you again very soon.